Most people have a desire to go to heaven. Most. Unless there are some crazy people who still do not think about heaven, which is alright, that they are entitled to their own thoughts. Most people have desire to go to heaven. Now, if you look at it carefully, there are many people who try to go to heaven, but they were rejected. In the book of Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 to 24, we read about during the last days, when people will go to Christ and say they have prophesied in His name, they have brought miracles in His name, they have done so many things in His name. Jesus said, "Go away from me, I know you not, for you have never done the will of my Father." So you can claim you are a Christian, you can claim that you have been prophesying in His name, you can claim that you have been healing the sick in His name, that you'll be visiting all the prisoners in the prison, but if you have not done the will of my Father in heaven, Jesus will not accept you. Though these people have a desire to heaven, to the point of even saying that they are able to do all these things. So if you are one of those people, what are your plans then? If you are going to be, and knowing that you will be rejected by Christ, what will your plans be now? What will your plans be? What are you willing to sacrifice or give up? As I've said, Jesus sacrificed His position in heaven to come down to suffer for you and I. Many people claim that good people will do that. I will not disapprove of that. I will say true. If you are a good person, then you will do that. But how many people are good people? How many people can be like Buddha, as an example? He didn't give his life for you and I, but he gave his life for his own self that he may find enlightenment. But Jesus gave his life for you and I. So what are you willing to sacrifice? Before we answer that question, I would like to explain to all of you what are the things that you cannot do and still go to heaven. Just like you cannot drink poison and still live. Neither can you walk yourself through a burning furnace and come out the other side unscorched. Impossible. So there are things that you cannot do and still go to heaven. This applies to Christians who thought that once saved, forever saved. There is no such thing as once saved, forever saved. In the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6 is the subject that I'm going to read. Chapter 6 verse 6. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out of this world. And verse 8, and having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. Verse 9, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Verse 10, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. This is from the Bible. And if you do not heed what is written in the Bible, for sure you will be piercing yourself with many sorrows. So you must therefore not let money separate you from God. Because the love of money is the root of all evil. You must not let money separate you from God. If you do, you will not enter heaven. It is not being owner of many things, but being owned by things that separate us from God. You can have many things in your life. But if those things own you, rather than you own those things, then you will not be able to enter the heaven. Because it is going to separate you from God. Now, some of you may say, where is that scriptural verse to support this kind of argument? That money can separate us from God. Or riches, poverty may separate us from God. Let us take a look at Matthew chapter 19, verse 21. From this verse, we can read something of importance. This is referring to this young man who came to see Jesus Christ. In verse 20, he says, all these things that you are telling me I have kept. The young man said, what do I still lack? Yes, you have been faithful, you've been doing all these things. What do I still lack? Verse 21, Jesus answered, if you want to be perfect, go, sell your possession and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me. Verse 22, when the young man heard this, he went away sad, because he had great wealth. He cannot separate himself from what he owned. Those things that he owned now own him, and that separates him from God. And what did Jesus say to the disciples? I tell you the truth, it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And he said, again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. For those who are slaves to their possession, this is what it says. What is the next thing that you cannot do and still go to heaven? Don't let pride separate you from God. Pride. P-R-I-D-E, pride. We read from the Bible in the book of Matthew. Let's turn to chapter 6 of Matthew. And look at verse 1. Be careful not to do your acts of righteousness before men, to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. Even the things that you do not flaunt it, because your reward will not also be in heaven. And it can lead you to the point of being separated from God. This is why Jesus begins the Beatitudes with poor in spirit. We have to be poor in spirit. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So do you want to go to heaven? Don't let pride stop you. It's very easy to let pride stop you. You know why pride can stop you? When you try to be full of pride, you sometimes don't listen to people who are on lower station than you. You tend to think that you are better off than someone of a lower station, although the person in lower station may be spiritually very rich. Therefore, you may say, why should I listen to you? You are not as successful as me in my life. So, what can you teach me that I do not know? Yes. A person who is not successful in this physical world, in the business world, in making money, but he can be so successful spiritually that he can tell you so many things. Because it is not that he doesn't want to be successful materially. He chose not to want to be successful materially because he wants to be successful spiritually. This is the reason why. Just like my friend, one day, just to console himself and to console me, he said, Albert, do not feel sad that both you and I did not enter the university. That you and I did not enter to study medicine or to study dentistry in the university. It's not that we cannot enter. It's just that we are so poor that we can't afford to enter university. But if we can enter university, I am very sure we will be today very successful doctors or specialists or whatever. So sometimes it is not because we are not capable, we choose not to run it, or we are prevented from being it. That is the difference. So never ever look at a person whom you think is poor physically, that he has nothing to share with you. That is something which a pride of a person can bring him down. The next thing that you cannot do